Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 85. Without any delay, start explanation. Scythe's soul fusion was undoubtedly mighty. A single attack was all that was needed to disintegrate Yang Nianxia and reduce him to motes of light. Run! Tang Wulin immediately ordered. Gu moved without hesitation. Silver light flashed, teleporting Tang Wulin and herself just outside the clearing and into the depths of the forest. They had tasted defeat at the hands of a soul fusion skill before. Not daring to underestimate it, they chose to exercise caution and retreat in the face of such power. The air stirred. A moment later, the hell-white tiger appeared where they just stood, its powerful claws slashing out only to hit nothing. "I surrender!" Xu Xiaoyan shouted as she sat on the ground with her hands high in the air. The hell-white tiger landed on the ground. In the next moment, however, its figure faded, turning illusory before twisting and disappeared, leaving Scythe in its place. Despite her pale complexion, she stood with her back straight and head held high. Her strength served as proof that she more than deserved her position as the strongest student of the first grade. With 4 purple soul rings, twin martial souls, and a self-soul fusion skill, it was impossible for her not to stand at the peak. Her most important ability was her soul fusion skill. It was unprecedented on the Dolor continent. All of her abilities combined to earn her a spot in the top 10 of the Genius Youths ranking. "Hey, are you okay?" Xu Xiaoyan asked. Scythe turned around, shooting Xu Xiaoyan a cold look. "I'm very weak right now. My body is in a bad condition, and I've overdrafted my soul power. If you plan to act, then do it now. Come on." Xu Xiaoyan waved her hand dismissively. "How could I take advantage of you like that? I'm not that kind of person. I already surrendered, so I'm on your team now." Scythe frowned at Xu Xiaoyan's sweet and innocent smile, then sat down on the ground. "Then protect me. I'm going to meditate." She closed her eyes. It was Xu Xiaoyan's turn to stare blankly at Scythe. Was my acting too good? Tang Wulin and Gu watched from the shadows of a tree. Gu knitted her brows. "What are we going to do now?" Tang Wulin smiled wryly. "There's no hurry. Such a large battle definitely attracted the attention of others. With the competition nearing an end, who wouldn't take this opportunity to defeat Scythe? We'll wait here. Her soul fusion skill might be powerful, but it also consumes a lot of soul power. Right now, she's not a threat, so we'll just use her as bait. Besides, she probably has another card up her sleeve since she dares to meditate out in the open. Rather than taking a risk and going out to search for others, we should wait here and let Scythe weaken them before we jump in." Gu shook her head. "I'm okay with waiting, but I don't want anyone to disturb her." Tang Wulin stared at her in surprise. "Why?" Gu met his gaze. "I want to duel her at her best condition." Tang Wulin chuckled. "Oh, you. You're just as stubborn as always. All right, fine. We'll protect her while she meditates then. You two sure have big hearts. Wouldn't it be better if I just deal with her right now?" Scythe popped up by their side. He had been quietly trailing them from a distance the entire time. Tang Wulin shook his head. "No, Gu is right. If we defeat her right now, would she really accept us as the victors? There's no way she would, and others wouldn't either. If any of us wants to become the class president, we'll need to show our strength. This is Shrek, only the strong are welcomed. Scythe is a challenge we have to overcome." He turned to Gu. "But I want you to promise me one thing, Gu." "What?" "I know you refuse to accept this, but don't deny that a 4-ringed soul master with a self-soul fusion skill is stronger than us. It will be difficult to defeat her, so let's fight together, all right?" Gu smiled. "Our opponent isn't just her. Wulin, is class president really that important to you?" Tang Wulin was taken aback. His heart thumped, but he smiled a moment later. "I understand. Thanks for your reminder. We'll do this together. Captain, why are you excluding me from this? Xie pouted. Tang Wulin whispered a few words into Xie's ear, and he mulled over them. That makes sense. Okay. I'm fine with that. Just remember to compensate me later. Xie giggled mischievously. Tang Wulin rolled his eyes. Even without this matter, would I owe you anything? The forest gradually settled. Contrary to Tang Wulin's expectations, no one came. 12 people remain. The arena will be reduced now for the final battle. Xinyi's voice resounded throughout the forest, and the world before them blurred. When everything came back into focus, Tang Wulin, Jiu, Xu Xiaoyan, and the meditating Wu Sidua were beside each other. They had originally been deep within the forest, surrounded by giant trees and dense foliage. Now, however, the terrain was nothing like before. A clearing of at least 100 meters in diameter appeared in front of them, not a tree in sight and every inch of its ground covered in blue-silver grass. It was as if they were on an elevated dueling arena. In this space were 12 people. Tang Wulin's group of 4, with the addition of Wu Sidua, were grouped together. To their left was the group of 3 led by immortal Xu Yucheng, and on their right was a group of 4. This group of 4, however, were in dire straits. Blood soaked every one of them, and their soul power fluctuations barely noticeable. Tang Wulin finally understood why no one had come to eliminate Wu Sidua. It turned out that there were only a dozen of them left, a third of which were barely clinging onto life and devoting all their energy into recovering. After taking everything in, Xu Yucheng was the first to act. He charged at the 4 injured soul masters like a bolt of lightning, his 2 followers darting out an instant later. They were well rested and in peak condition. Rather than attacking the injured group though, the 2 followers moved to the side to guard Xu Yucheng from Tang Wulin's team. The first grade had a total of 101 students. Only 12 of them remained now. This was their final battle for presidency. Tang Wulin and his comrades remained still, simply watching Xu Yucheng charge. The team of 4 was trapped, an arrow at the end of its flight. The scythe slashed down. They disappeared in flashes of light. Now only 8 remained. They were the 3 from Xu Yucheng's team, and the 5 on Tang Wulin's side. Tang Wulin took the lead, approaching his opponents. His gaze fixed on Xu Yucheng. Now that the competition had come to this point, scheming and waiting no longer had any purpose. Now was not the time for wisdom to shine, but for strength to show its supremacy. The only way to convince others was to show strength. Xu Yucheng turned to look at Tang Wulin, his expression grim as he lifted his demon scythe up. His 2 companions released their martial souls. But when they saw that Tang Wulin only had 2 soul rings, a mocking smile tugged their lips. They assumed their usual battle formation, Jiu and Xu Xiaoyan in the rear, Tang Wulin as the vanguard, and Xie on the side. Neither side spoke a word. They all knew that this was the final battle. Xu Yucheng didn't understand what the situation was with Wu Sidua, who was seated off in the distance, but he knew that his only option now was to defeat his opponents. Save your soul power, Tang Wulin said to Jiu. I'll deal with Xu Yucheng. His words were filled with confidence. Since the start of the competition, Tang Wulin had been patiently biding his time. For the sake of his comrades, he didn't display his full strength and maintained himself in peak condition the entire time. It wasn't that he didn't want to fight and show off his power, but that he couldn't. He had to act in consideration of his team. But he no longer had to hold himself back. He wanted to see who was stronger, him or immortal Xu Yucheng. He wanted to see just how strong a rancor was. Previously, Jiu had asked him if being class president was important. The class president seat was important. However, it just couldn't compare with the pleasure of battle. Xu Yucheng's 2 grey teammates turned illusory and dashed out. These 2 were agility-type soul masters. As for Xu Yucheng, he was undoubtedly an assault type. At the sight of the fire crackling within Tang Wulin's eyes, Jiu stopped right in her tracks. That confidence made her not want to interfere in his battle against Xu Yucheng. Taking on the 4-ring Xu Yuqing in a one-on-one match was exactly what Tang Wulin wanted to do. There was no doubt that out of the entire first grade, Xu Yuqing was second to only Wu Xidua. His tactical prowess might not match Luo Guixing's, but his individual strength was far higher. Wu Zhongkong had always drilled into them that only by facing truly powerful opponents would they grow to their full potential. To Tang Wulin, Xu Yuqing was a towering challenge, but one he desperately yearned for. Ji Yu turned around, her eyes drifting to the seated Wu Xidua. She sat down and closed her eyes. She wanted the both of them to duel in their best conditions. The instant Tang Wulin and Ji Yu resolved themselves, the scent of the battlefield changed. The two had chosen their opponents for the final battle. Defeat was of no consequence to them, so long as they could grow from combat. A faint golden aura spread around Scythe, and in a flash, a figure of the same bright color shot out of his body, dashing toward one of the grey opponents. Clearly, he would be fighting both of them by himself. Further off, Xu Xiaoyan brandished her staff high in the air, her mouth moving as she mumbled some chants. Yet she did not unleash a soul skill. Instead, she closed her eyes, the reasons for her actions anyone's guess. The grey youth on the left became more tangible as he summoned his martial soul, a pair of dark silver sayas. Their sharp points were excellent for stabbing and the prongs enabled them to catch any weapon. He crossed his sayas together. The meeting of metal resulted in a burst of energy which combined into a grey halo launching towards Xie. He isn't an agility type, but a control type. Xie instantly realized. The two were about to clash. Inches before collision, Xie's figure flickered like a ghost, and he appeared outside of the halo's range. At the same time, he unleashed a light dragon blade that reached his opponent's neck in the blink of an eye. He had used the secret art of the Tang sect, Ghost Shadow Perplexing Track, to evade. On the other front of battle, Xie's clones were similarly flickering all over the battlefield with Ghost Shadow Perplexing Track. There was nothing their opponent could do to stop their approach in face of such an attack. Xie had engraved Elder CAI's criticisms into his heart after the entrance exam. Using both of his third soul skills, he could produce 6 clones for 6 targets. However, he couldn't perfectly control all of them, his cultivation and spiritual power too lacking to do so. Her criticisms had forced him to wonder whether 6 clones of that caliber were anything special. After pondering this question, he experimented with his skills and discovered that his current limit was fully controlling 2 clones. Especially if he chose to have both clones use Ghost Shadow Perplexing Track. By limiting himself to 2 clones, he could freely use the secret art by splitting his mind into 2 parts, which also benefited his spiritual power growth. This was his first attempt at putting his theories into practice. Xie had summoned 2 clones, splitting his mind in 2. He had ignored every other soul skill in his arsenal, choosing to focus on Light Dragon Blade instead, in order to bring out the true potential of Ghost Shadow Perplexing Track. Aiming for the best possible result was not on his list. Rather, avoiding mistakes was. He would use these 2 powerful opponents to temper himself. The pair of quick grey youths turned out to be control-type soul masters. They had assumed that delaying an agility-type soul master who used clones would be easy. But reality wasn't as forgiving. Not only did their opponent's speed surpass their expectations, he also possessed a bizarre footwork that was impossible to trace. It wasn't long until they were backed into a corner. Xu Yuqing stood his ground, watching Tang Wulin approach him. His pale face revealed nothing, no emotions of any sort. A deathly cold aura lingered around him as ripples of black air clung to his scythe. Blue-silver grass gathered and danced in a frenzied swarm around Tang Wulin with each step he took. Tensed around his arm, gold light fixed its dazzling golden eyes on Xu Yuqing. After countless mutations, gold light looked nothing like it did originally. Its entire body was covered in glistening golden scales, a spark of intelligence dancing in its eyes. A mere 10 meters from Xu Yuqing, Tang Wulin burst into action. Blue-silver grass pounced like snakes upon Xu Yuqing, striking from all directions. Strength swelled in Tang Wulin's legs as he accelerated, dashing toward his target. Narrowing his eyes, Xu Yuqing slashed with his scythe, sending a black wave at the incoming swarm of grass. As if alive, the grass zigzagged in the air, swooping toward the ground beneath the black wave. The wave soon reached Tang Wulin. Listening closely, a hum could be heard in the air. Tang Wulin didn't try to dodge. Instead, golden light flashed as his right hand turned into a claw and he thrust it at the wave, tearing it to shreds. He leaped at Shu Yucheng. The blue-silver grass broke into a frenzy, shooting out to shackle Shu Yucheng, courtesy of Tang Wulin's bind ability. Shu Yucheng finally made his move. He shot up like a bolt of lightning, his scythe painting a shadow in the sky as darkness trailed from his body. The grass reaching for the heavens were cut down one after another. Then, the darkness receded and shot toward Tang Wulin. He was pressured from all sides. Tang Wulin was fully aware of his fate should he receive a direct attack from the powerful demon Scythe. However, retreat was not an option. After observing Shu Yucheng's previous battle, he understood that his adversary's battle style centered on suppressing his opponents with brute force and cutting off all routes of escape. So, Tang Wulin could not retreat. His only choice was to advance. With a grunt, his two purple soul rings dimmed for the appearance of a golden one. A dragon's roar pierced the forest, resplendent golden light flooding out of his body. His claw and scales bled a brilliant gold, even seeming to empower gold light. Tang Wulin used golden dragon body. He swung both his arms out, the full power of his blood essence erupting. In that instant, a bright aura clung to his form and he shined like a miniature sun, his radiance blinding. The black light distorted when it came in contact with the gold, deflected to the side at Tang Wulin's command. It was another Tang sect secret art, controlling crane, capturing dragon. In a flash, purple light blossomed in his eyes. The darkness swayed Shu Yucheng in mid-air and his movements turned sluggish. His third soul ring went dark, his soul skill interrupted. A strand of blue-silver grass under Tang Wulin bled gold. It coiled like a spring, then ejected Tang Wulin into the air. He pierced through the darkness like an arrow of light. Blades of darkness sliced him as he flew through the air, planting several wounds and gashes over his body, but they were all superficial in the face of golden dragon body. Not a second later, Tang Wulin reached Shu Yucheng. Shu Yucheng's demon side definitely had a long reach. In order to keep him from taking advantage of that, Tang Wulin threw his clawed fist straight at him. Shu Yucheng, now recovered from the purple demon eyes' spiritual attack, stared at Tang Wulin straight in the eye. He loosened his grip on his scythe and slid his hand up toward the blade's curved edge, then, his expression as impassive as ever, slashed at the incoming claw with his shortened scythe. A crisp note rang through the air, and violet darkness ran up Tang Wulin's scaled arm. Shu Yucheng borrowed the force of their clash to jump backward. However, he staggered a few times as he retreated. Clearly, he had underestimated Tang Wulin's strength. Now that Shu Yucheng opened up some distance between them, it would be difficult for Tang Wulin to penetrate the range of the demon scythe again. He was disadvantaged in both reach and soul power. It was too late to use bind. Shu Yucheng would simply shred all the blue-silver grass Tang Wulin threw at him. Shu Yucheng was stunned by Tang Wulin's strength. Although Tang Wulin revealed a shocking golden ring, he only had 2 soul rings and the soul power to match. It was on this basis that Shu Yucheng was confident he could overwhelm Tang Wulin in a contest of power. Even when he was forced to retreat, he still felt confident he could defeat Tang Wulin. Now, however, he realized that Tang Wulin's strength was beyond his expectations. Despite the disparity in their soul power, their clash had resulted in his complete and utter loss. Uncontrollable tremors still gripped him from the impact. He probably thinks I specialize in long weapons. Unfortunately for him, my demon scythe is just as good for close-quarters fights. I can use it like a short weapon instead. He might be able to unleash explosive strength, but there's no way he can keep it up for long. Shu Yucheng's judgment was accurate, but he didn't know just how differently Tang Wulin viewed the situation. Trying to open up distance? Blue-silver grass shot out to hinder his opponent while Tang Wulin brandished his claw once more. Golden dragon body blood essence surged out, instantly dispersing the black haze surrounding his right arm. Then he lifted his arm up, the brilliant gold luster of his claw darkening as he slashed down. 5 dark gold waves of light shot out. A magnificent scene unraveled before the spectators, demanding their full attention. Even Wu Sidua opened her eyes in awe. They watched Tang Wulin lift his arm, then slash down and release those 5 waves of light. The waves tore through the sky, rapidly closing in on Xu Yucheng. Apprehension dawned on Xu Yucheng's face, but it came too late. He only managed to turn around and hold his scythe in front before the attack reached him. The deafening screech of metal tearing metal resounded, and Xu Yucheng was sent crashing into the ground. He coughed up some blood, his complexion paler than usual. Despite his condition, his scythe only had a few cracks in it. He truly was worthy of being a ranker. The lower half of his body was buried in the ground, as if he was a nail waiting to be hammered. Tang Wulin descended upon him, his claw held high in preparation to attack him. Xu Yucheng could only feebly raise his scythe in defense. Metallic shrieks pierced the air every time Tang Wulin's claw clashed with the scythe. Although his attacks weren't fast, each one carried tremendous power. Xu Yucheng sunk deeper into the ground with every strike, and the cracks in his scythe spread like a web. Blood began to trickle out of his mouth and nose, then his ears and eyes. All 7 apertures of the head had blood streaming out of them, the flow only increasing with each blow. When the 5th strike landed, Xu Yucheng coughed out a spray of blood and his scythe shattered. A moment later, he disappeared in a flash of white light. This? Everyone watching gaped. That was the Immortal. He had just defeated Immortal Xu Yucheng, ranked 19 on the Genius Youths ranking. Even if he consumed a lot of soul power to defend against Tang Wulin's attacks, he was still a 4-ring soul ancestor. He was one of the only 2 soul ancestors in the 1st grade. He was defeated? Just like that? When Tang Wulin defeated Xu Yucheng, Scythe unleashed his full might as well. Xu Yucheng's 2 teammates were stunned by his defeat. Xu Xiaoyan took advantage of this, finally making her move. She shot an ice spear toward the youth on the left, piercing through the air like a bolt of lightning. Just as the 2 youths noticed the incoming ice spear, a violet light flashed at the eyes of the one on the right. Xu Xiaoyan was undoubtedly a master at exploiting any momentary openings her opponents revealed. Since her martial soul's strength couldn't compare with that of her companions, so she had focused her efforts in this direction. The trajectory of the ice spear put the youth in a tight spot. If he wanted to dodge it, he would fall right into Scythe's hands. Scythe activated Light Dragon Storm while releasing Light Dragon Blades, his appearance like a radiant whirlwind of death as he headed towards the 2 grey youths. Between the pincer attack and the shock from Xu Yucheng's defeat, there was no suspense in his fate. White light sparkled, signaling his demise. As for the remaining youth, the purple demon eyes stunned him. One of Scythe's clone promptly sliced his neck. It was only because of Scythe's preserved strength and deepened understanding of his 3rd soul skill that he could corner the 2 with such ease. Xu Yucheng was not well versed in the art of scheming, he'd relied on sheer brute force to charge through every battle thus far. This resulted in his 2 teammates being exhausted and ripe for the picking. Tang Wulin's golden aura faded as he dispelled Golden Dragon Body, revealing a somewhat pale complexion. His battle with Xu Yucheng may have been short, but he didn't hold anything back from the very beginning and even brought out one of his trump cards. Xu Yucheng had been shocked to death at the end. Tang Wulin hadn't forgotten Yang Nianxiao's evaluation that Xu Yucheng's body was too frail to contain a 1,000-year soul ring. His plan was simple: overpower Xu Yucheng from the very start. In the face of absolute strength, it didn't matter even if Xu Yucheng's soul power was stronger. Tang Wulin just pounded Xu Yucheng until his body couldn't hold out anymore. It was thanks to Golden Dragon Body that he could pull off such a daring plan. Without this skill and the physical enhancements it wrought on his body, it would have been impossible for him to suppress Xu Yucheng so thoroughly. Tang Wulin panted heavily, but a radiant smile blossomed on his lips all the same as he regrouped with his teammates. Oddly enough, Scythe stood there without the slightest hint of a victor's excitement. Rather, he wore a pensive expression. Tang Wulin took care not to disturb him. It was clear he was in the middle of some kind of enlightenment. Wu Sidua was still seated, but a fire blazed in her eyes as she looked at Tang Wulin. She had always assumed that Tang Wulin was Yang Nianxiao's underling even though all his soul rings were purple. He only had two, after all. When he had saved her in their battle against Luo Guixing, it left a deep impression on her. Yet now, he was burned into her memories. She finally understood what it meant to disguise oneself as a pig to devour a tiger. This guy is so good at hiding himself. I'm not sure about others, but the strength he displayed in his battle against Xu Yuqing is no less than Yang Nianxia's. Captain, Xu Xiaoyan called out with a smile. Ji Yu stood up and returned to his side. For Wu Sidhua to make it in the top 10 of the genius youths ranking, there was no need to doubt her intelligence. She instantly connected the dots and understood the relationship between the four. So that girl from Luo Guixing's team was his comrade all along. Come. Wu Sidhua shot to her feet, a cold glint in her eyes. She wasn't resigned to defeat. 1 versus 4? So what? Tang Wulin turned to Ji Yu. He stared deep into her eyes. The fire burning in their depths told him everything he needed to know. He pulled on Xu Xiaoyan's sleeve. We're just going to observe. Huh? She looked at him in astonishment. Tang Wulin responded with a reassuring smile. Believe in Ji Yu. Okay. Xu Xiaoyan immediately agreed. Big sis Ji Yu, good luck. Ji Yu nodded, then took 3 steps forward. She regarded Wu Sidhua with a calm gaze, her demeanor as serene as a still lake. This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.